I don't know what I'm going to do. I do know I'm going to do something. The first line of the first lyrics of the fraction song says, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. This works and explains what you must do for adding and subtracting fractions. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about are different kind of fractions here. They're like fractions. Those fractions have the same denominator. For our first example, we have like fractions. Now, the song says, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. Well, I have a 2 as my denominator, a 2 as my denominator. So my answer, my sum, has to have a 2 as its denominator. The bottoms have to match. The denominators need to match perfectly from adding to sum. And all I do now is add my numerators. 1 plus 1 is 2. We said that any number divided by itself, 2 divided by 2 equals 1, so we can simplify this, and that becomes a whole, or 1. Okay? For subtraction, we see the same thing. We have 5 as a denominator, 5 as a denominator. It says match the bottoms perfectly, so that means that my difference has to have a 5 as its denominator. All the denominators match. All the bottoms match perfectly. And all I do now is I take my numerator and subtract my other numerator, and I end up with the difference of 1/5. That's the easy way. That's like fractions, and it works well with our song, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. But we also have unlike fractions. Unlike fractions are fractions that do not have the same denominator. In our example here, we have 4/5 plus 4/7. The denominators do not match perfectly. These are unlike fractions. We have to figure out what our sum is going to have for a denominator. And likewise, for our subtraction, we have 8/9 minus 1/2. The denominators, again, do not match. Now, the first thing it says is adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. So here, to do these two problems, we have to find a common multiple. Most teachers say the least common multiple, and I agree that the least common multiple is what we really want to find. But if you can't find the least common multiple because you're still working on your multiplication facts, then you can find a common multiple, and later on we'll show you how to reduce the fraction anyway. So it says find a common multiple. Now you can use your multiplication facts. I can show you again how to use skip counting. You can skip count to find it. And for lack of a better word, I called it butterfly. And what you do there, I'll explain when we get there. All right, for our first example, in the addition, I'm going to just pull the subtraction off to the side. It doesn't matter. We have to find a common multiple. I know my multiplication facts. I can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And I also know that 7 times 5 is 35. So I know that I have to multiply my 5 by 7. And I need to multiply my 4 by 7. Because when we find a common denominator, all we're really doing is renaming our fraction. Any number times 1 is itself, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. So we're just renaming this fraction. And again, over here, I know that I need to multiply. And notice on my sheet of paper, I'm not worried about the equal sign because I'm going to rewrite the problem anyway. Now I have 5 divided by 5, which equals 1. The ugly 1, which is this thing right here, reminds me that I need to multiply my numerator and my denominator by the same value so that I rename the fraction. 7 times 4 is 28, and 7 times 5 is 35. And I bring down my plus sign, and I like to work directly up under so I can make sure that I'm following what I need to find. 4 times 5 is 20, and 7 times 5 is 35. The song says, adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. Well, we just matched the bottoms. 35, 35. My sum has to have a denominator of 35. That's using our multiplication facts. We constructed an ugly 1. We multiplied our numerator and our denominator by the same thing. We multiplied our numerator and denominator by the same thing here. That's using multiplication facts. We can find out that our answer is 48. And we can simplify by doing the math, and that would mean 48 divided by 38. But before we do that, because I'm not really talking about simplifying yet, we'll do that in a minute. I want to show you skip counting. Skip counting, I would probably start off with my 7. And I go 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 7, 7 plus 4 is 1, carry my 11, carry my 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 7 plus 1 is 8, bring down my 2, 7 plus 8 is 15, plus 2 plus 1 is 35, and I'm going to stop there because it just proves that I can skip count. I can skip count as far as I need to. And then I can skip count with my 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And then I notice that that's the common denominator. And to figure out what I'm going to use for my ugly 1, well, I go back to my 7. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my ugly 1 has to be a 5 and a 5. And then I check over here with my 5 and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 times 7 is 35. So my ugly 1 needs to be a 5 here. And the benefit of that is I already know what my ugly 1, I already know what 4 times 5 is going to be. 4 times 7, because I go 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives me my 28. I know what 4 times 5 is because I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that gives me my 20. I still have the same thing. For those of you who know your multiplication facts, I could also go 7 times 5. This is the butterfly. I do 5 times 7, that gives me 35. And then I do 7 times 4, which gives me 28. And then I do 5 times 4, which gives me 20. Listen, I don't want to confuse you. Watch it as many times as you need to and pick the method that works for you. Whether you know your multiplication facts and whether you want to do the butterfly, the X, the butterfly looks like this, by the way. And then here, and then here. Okay, and you multiply. That's the butterfly. It doesn't matter which method you use. What matters is that you're comfortable and that you understand how to use each method. Now, the last thing before I go on to the subtraction, we do have an improper fraction. And we want to simplify that. And we're going to take 35 and make that our divisor. And we're going to take 48 and make that our dividend. And remember, we're not going to convert this to a decimal. We're going to keep it as a fraction because it was presented to us as a fraction. We know we can't get 35 out of 4. But we can get 35 out of 48. And I believe we can only get it one time. So 1 times 35 is 35. And then we subtract. Just do the math. 8 minus 5 is 3. 4 minus 1 is 1. I take my quotient. This is my quotient. This is my remainder. This is my divisor. I take my quotient. I use my remainder, my divisor. So this is going to equal 1 and 13 over 35. That's what that equals. All right. Hope that helps. I didn't say I was the neatest mathematician, but I do try and keep it pretty neat. All right, on the subtraction side, we have the same thing. Multiplication facts, I'm going to do it with skip counting first. I'm going to start off with my 9. Okay, 9 is an odd number. 9 plus 9 is 18. A little bit of multiplication facts, 18 is an even number, so that means that 2 can go in 18 evenly. So knowing that, I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I have my number. 1, 2, that tells me I got to multiply my 9 by 2. What I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So I set up an ugly 1 that has 2 times 9, 2 times 8. 2 times 8, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 times 8 is 16. And 2 times 9 is 18. So I have half my problem done. And then I know I have to do, to get to 18 with the 2's, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need to have 9 as what I'm multiplying my denominator by, and 9 is what I'm multiplying my numerator. Again, that's the ugly 1, because that's not how we normally see 1. But 9 divided by 9 is 1. 9 times 1 is 9. And 9 times 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. We have a common denominator. Adding fractions that you see match the bottoms perfectly. So I'm going to bring my 18 over. So my difference and my numbers I'm subtracting, those are all the same. Match the bottoms perfectly. 16 minus 9 is 7. And 7/18 is our answer.